Boing. Hey-yo. Ooh.
Bloody hell.
Do the non-audible drum roll.
Prompt.
The 3 key words are. Maybe someone could throw it up.
Okay,
Oh,
I'm scared, I'm scared.
I don't know if you could do it.
Who's writing this?
I don't know if
Are
you
you writing it,
down
Jim?
here.
But maybe once I
Nice.
get through all of them, we can just drop them on the screen. Whoever is listening backstage. We have space, as in outer space. Well, not
Ooh.
necessarily. It's just the word space. So
Interesting.
It can be interpreted the way you need to interpret
Okay,
it, I would
okay.
imagine. Because there's no rules against that. Giant, so giant as in Giant. And
Are they using our list?
And what?
O-T-I-O-N. I repeat, space,
Oh, potion.
giant.
Oh man, that's hard.
That's awesome.
Giant
Jesus
potion.
Christ.
So it's space giant potion in giant.
That's hard,
giant
man.
Text on the screen. Amazing. Thank you for whoever did that.
Oh my god.
Someone
there
in
we
space
are.
drinks a potion and becomes a giant.
But
We gotta go deeper than that.
Space giant
yeah,
potion.
man,
we
you,
will. That's like the base level.
Like, if you can somehow
That's like what
also
some
author
you
students
got
gonna
you got to
do.
go 5 levels deep.
Should we just do breakdowns of the words, maybe? Like, just start writing words related to it, like spaceship. And then we can just, like, maybe branch off of this and just keep going. We can scale this down and, like, just keep going with stuff.
I'll make this small. Hang on.
The moon is a thing.
Planet.
Planets. We could play around with scale with planets. I guess something that looks like it's really far away, but then really small. That's like
That's
a
funny.
gag, possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Uh,
like scrap
to-
from Blue Sky kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe that's where I got that from. I most likely got that from somewhere. Potion, I guess drinking is one. Drinking, maybe making a potion.
What else could potion mean? Not much, really.
You could transform.
Transforming, yeah.
Uh,
Invisible. I'm just gonna write stuff that Minecraft potions do. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Fucking on stream in front of 16 people. Terrible spelling.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's later. I think we come up with the idea and then we figure out how we scale it down to work with the limitations
Good
that we
idea.
have. I
Good
think
idea.
that's the strat. Give me your strongest potion. You know the Potion Master video?
Oh yeah.
Potion Master!
That could be. We'd use that audio.
Potion Master audio, question mark. What would that be? That would be like a potion seller in space.
Let me listen to that.
Give me your strongest potion.
Space. You could say, how about meteor?
I've changed. I should change. We should change our colours so we're all different. Actually, I'll go
Don't
red.
matter, does it?
Ah, yeah, it doesn't matter too much. Meteor, yeah, that's good. Space. We've got spaceship.
Yeah.
UFO.
Laser.
Aliens.
I guess you could just put
Ali-
sci-fi. So like that comes under elements.
Yeah,
you could
I
put in.
feel like as long as it's sort of to do with the theme, we can go a bit off road if it's sort of within this realm.
Yeah.
Giant. What about giant prop?
Or
Like maybe a shrink ray or a size ray. Size
glitch
ray?
mode. Right
Yeah,
there.
sized ray. What else could there be?
We need like a slight narrative.
Yeah, I think these are just things that then we can mix and match and create
Yeah,
like
yeah.
some kind of thing.
I
From,
guess you
know.
kind of just need like you need an objective and a
Yeah,
resolution.
conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We need a place as
objective,
well.
conflict that stops the objective, and then resolution.
Yeah.
What if somebody drops a potion and it makes the planet tiny,
Oh, tiny
and then that
planet
makes the
is
person
interesting.
giant? You know, like
Yeah.
instead of making like the typical thing is someone who's big on a planet goes, someone who's on a planet goes bigger than the planet. But what if the planet went smaller?
See, that's like the context, right? But what? Okay, you just said that, and I was like, what if it's some guy who's like looking at his girl next door, like fantasizing, and then fucks up, drops his potion, everything shrinks, and now they're the last two people shrunk on Earth or some shit. Like, trying to create some kind of narrative around that. Obviously, that's just random bullshit from the top of my head. But trying to like come up with something that fits the theme, and then come up with something that gives us the acting to go from.
One thing that says to me straight away about this is it's definitely more physical acting.
Yeah, I think to
It's
do
a lot
it, it's
more
going to be
like-
pantomime, right?
yeah.
Probably going to be pantomime.
It's probably going to be panto.
Wouldn't it be cool if like if there's just a person playing like football with planets or some shit?
I was thinking that. I was just like, what if like they were trying to stop the planet from bouncing into something else? I don't know.
Oh,
What if it's God and God's son, and God's left the room and his son's fucking her out with the planets? Or some shit.
How
He
does
comes
your
back
potion
in
do
and
that?
has to fix it like, oh! At the end, and he has to figure out like how he's fucked it up.
Well, how's
I'll
the
write that
potion
down
come
as
into
a
that?
Okay, so
God.
yeah, God is in the
son.
living room drinking a potion, which is just a pint or something, and his son's run off to the planet room, or the
Yeah.
the
Yeah, you
solar
can just be
system
sitting-
room.
You just have like the fucking classic like sitting. God is here. He can literally have a God thing on his t-shirt.
He'll have like a big
This is planet room back here with a door. Planets. Oh, fuck the spelling off, haven't I? Amazing.
Well, and you just see space through the door or
Halo.
something.
Oh yeah, Halos is easy.
but like God spills a beer in the on Earth or something.
And everyone gets pissed. Everyone on Earth's fucking.
But then we have to animate crowds, so I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to show like a number of scenarios. I mean, you could do a montage thing where God's up there, there's the setup of him spilling the thing, and then it goes to a montage of different people getting drunk in awkward situations, and then it cuts back to him fixing it somehow.
God's kind of in space and he's mixing up some potions or something, and then he accidentally mixes up one, or like knocks something and it falls down onto one of the planets, and then it cuts to somebody on the planet, or like something happening on the planet where it just like shit just hits the fan. I'm just trying to think of like, I don't know, you gotta think of something that's going to get the best kind of reaction, like what's going to be like either funny or whatever,
And also allow us room to animate something cool.
I know that's the hardest thing.
But
It's
You
like-
can always find something.
Yeah, there's always
There's
some
always
level of
something to
acting
do.
or some level of something interesting in there, I guess. So yeah, don't worry about the animation side and just figure out the story stuff. Cam
What if
zooms
there's
in the
like
planet, yeah.
what if there's a person or alien like flying through space, and he's really thirsty, and he happens upon solar system, but he's so big that he just like drinks the sea.
Oh, he picks up the planet and just
He just
necks
goes
the fucking water out of
the
it.
sea's gone.
And
That'd
then
be
everyone's like, oh!
yeah, that could work.
That could work.
And it just cuts to
Alright.
people like sliding down,
He
like
gets, he
gravity
gets the
being
straw
pulled or
out and
something.
sucks the sea up.
Oh, a straw, yeah.
That'd be quite cool.
Yeah, okay.
I quite like
I quite
that.
like that.
Like if we use the sea as just a sphere on the Earth, and then the sphere just shrinks.
Well,
so
and then
that
it
there's no
cuts
blue
to like
anymore.
a person on a boat, like just being dragged away, kind of thing.
Oh no! So he sucks it up in one suck, and then it cuts to the person on the boat.
Well, inside
just
the
like-
alien stomach. Just
That
like,
yeah,
what-
either
what
that
now?
or it just cuts to the guy in a boat, and the boat's just floating in the air. And we have a little like Looney Tunes moment. He's like, oh, and then the boat falls to the spot to the like fucking bottom of the sea that's full of fish or something.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think we want to show like maybe the fisherman first and then it zooms out? Or I quite like the like thirsty set up the guy being thirsty,
Yeah.
and then we do like acting with him being all thirsty on his ship or whatever he's doing. I don't know. He needs to be huge though. So would he even be on a
I
ship
think,
or would he?
no,
just
I think he'd just be
walking
floating.
through space?
He could be floating through space or whatever.
How would a giant alien travel through space, but also a rig that we can get? So imagine that there's two spheres. The blue is the sea, the green and is like a slightly modelled sphere as well, that are like interlocking, and then the blue just fucking shrinks. So you're left with like
What, brown or something?
yeah.
Is there a way that we could like 2D animate like just a few frames of like this?
We could
this,
even like
and then
do
gone
a
or something
cartoony
with, like,
squash of
this.
the
Of the,
Oh,
the
right,
planet
yeah,
getting
yeah,
sucked
yeah.
up or something.
Like it goes long as he's sucking on it.
Yeah. You could do that.
Like the big anticipation where he's like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, exactly.
I like this idea. What do you think?
Yeah. I'm
What-
happy with that.
It's interesting. Okay, let's try and flesh
I
it
think
out.
it's
So,
the initial. So this is like shot one essentially. So like, I guess we've got to think of what would happen as a consequence.
we need this. We need something to set this up. This is like the main thing, and then we cut in for the
I've got an
gag.
idea. So let's look at.
We need to set up him needing a drink.
Can't you not just do that in the same shot?
Thirsty alien
Right.
set up. Then we need to introduce the Earth.
So does he look at the Earth, and then maybe we cut to the fisherman in the sea?
He could be like
Yeah.
passing the Earth or something. Then he's like, he
He's like,
realizes
"Ooh."
that he could drink it.
Yeah.
Could you do for that? I like. What if it's like the Earth? The Earth is huge, and he's like walks
Yeah.
past, and then maybe comes back and does the pop-up thing or something.
Yeah, then he
It's
gets a straw out.
like, ooh.
Yeah, get rid of this.
Yeah, sorry.
That's good though. So Earth, and in this shot, it's quite a long shot. Gets a straw out, but he
Yeah.
doesn't plonk it in yet. So then here we cut to fishing boat,
Yeah.
and just a massive straw lands next to his boat.
Doosh.
And then cut back to
It's gonna be hard
Yeah.
to get like splashes though.
this.
I guess
where he
just
starts drinking.
massive camera shake and hope
Yeah.
it kind of
You
works.
don't even need to do the drinking in the close up because the drinking is in the wide with
Yeah.
the Earth, right?
Yeah.
So then he drinks it all up. So he drains the Earth.
Yeah.
And then here we cut to the Looney Tunes bit where it's just the same shot as this, but the boat is just like floating in midair.
Yeah.
And then we have a close up on the guy.
Like
He's
reaction.
like, he just feel like,
Does he like turn to look at camera like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, like a Wily kind of thing.
does he have like, do we cut to him and he's like almost getting a fish, and then somehow we set it up like,
so he doesn't get the fish.
so like he's about to get it and then he gets fucked by the alien or
Oh,
something.
that's a lot to do in 24 hours. Wait, let's just.
But these
Yeah,
shots,
I'm trying to think
I'm
about doing a
thinking these
little
shots
bit
can
of side to
be
it.
these shots can be pretty short though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. If it's just a guy in a boat, then we cut to his face.
He could be with his he could be fishing, get a little rod out.
Yeah.
Or maybe if it's.
I mean, it might be quite funny if he's just like, I don't know, if like obviously he's got his boat and he's on the ocean, he's in the ocean. If he gets his fish and he's got his fish, but now he's just stranded there with like fuck all to do but his fish.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like if we set him up with something and then he
Oh.
gets it, but then it's like
Everything else
a
is
shit
gone.
situation, or but then he still celebrates or something. I don't know, something that could set it up for a bit of a comedy relief at the end, like trying to.
Maybe. So
Well, how
so
about
this
this?
is the
How about this? So like he sucks up all of the water, and then it cuts back to the guy with like no water, and then he's just
Yeah.
like, and then like the gag is that like a fish lands on his head or something, like he does get the fish, kind of thing.
Yeah, or his boat is like full of fish, or like there's fish everywhere because the sea's all gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This fish just flapping around in the water, in the ground
Yeah.
or something.
But I do like the idea of like him drinking it all. We cut back to the guy. So maybe so it's one shot here with the alien, then he sees the Earth,
Yeah.
and then cut to the fishing boat. This is now two shots because we need a close up to establish this guy earlier.
Mhm.
So like wide with the boat here,
Yeah.
Needs a moustache.
and then close up here, and cut back to the alien. He drinks it.
Why do we need
Um,
to establish the guy close up first?
I guess we don't, but like
You can have like a medium wide. I
Yeah.
don't know. You want to see the boat in the ocean, right?
Why
You
do you
want
have a
the
mid
wide-
shot?
You want the
It might be
same shot
strange.
of
Yeah,
the
just
boat
do
in the
medium
ocean
wide.
and then the no ocean.
Yeah. As long as you get to see the water, the boat, and the guy, you could still be relatively close up.
I guess. But I think it'd be funny if it's really graphic with just like a fucking boat in the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We can. All I'm gonna say is keep it short and sweet in terms of shot lengths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can. I don't know. We'll see what time we've got.
The twos could give us a lot more
Yeah.
room to work.
I mean, twos
Yeah,
with
I'm happy to do two.
AZ with occasional ones could work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for quick, snappy stuff.
Yeah. Warrior dude thing.
Oh, is that the fighter guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the fate. We need. I want to get that fucking that
Yeah,
nice
you
sucky
need the
boy though,
cartoony.
and you're not gonna get that on.
What about
Yeah.
Moom?
Show.
Do you guys know the Moom rig?
Memes
No.
fucking.
It looks a bit shit, but it'd be quite funny.
It looks proper shit, right? What
Yeah,
you mean
but
for the
I think it
alien?
could be funny.
I'm just having a look.
Oh, and this sock.
Moom is a bit shit, but it's a bit alien-y.
He's a bit uni, right?
There's a goblin.
I mean, you could make quite a lot of like more alien just with a changing
You
colour.
could just make him green, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, true.
you just make fucking Apollo green or some shit.
Moon
Yeah,
is-
just give him some antennae.
Moom is a bit.
Yeah, you
jank.
could literally just make him green. Parent constraint some like things with some balls on the end.
I think in terms of rig selection, like we definitely need to go with something that's like going to be able to achieve everything we need to rig rather than
Yeah.
fighting the rig.
How do you establish thirsty? This is my worry in the acting. Does he like try to drink out of his water bottle and it's empty? He's like, oh god.
You
or
could just make him hold on.
panting.
We'll have to make him like maybe even crawling, like he's in a desert. Like make space seem like a desert somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's like,
Empty
like
drink.
he dry mouth. Like
Yeah, I was gonna say you could just make him like.
I mean, we could just do like a fucking bubble water. What if it's him and he's walking with his like drink cup, Slurpee cup, and he's walking, and then he notices the earth, and he's like, "That looks fucking better." Chucks away his Slurpee cup, gets a straw,
yeah,
That's
and
pretty
he goes,
good.
"Yeah, right." And
yeah.
then-
He uses the straw from the cup. That's clever.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he's like just walking. You could start with the earth shot, like we were on about, with like the shot being this or whatever. I don't know why shift click doesn't work for straight lines in this. But
Ross likes this idea.
you have him walk.
We could
Huge
definitely
guy.
find a sound that's the empty McDonald's cup, like that sound.
Yeah.
So he's finishing his cup and he's like, oh.
Yeah, and
shakes
that's
it,
ran
it's
out
empty.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you could start on him like that, and then he could turn, look, and you pull out and reveal Earth, and then you have the composition.
So we have this
Yeah.
shot.
Why don't you
With the
have
shot.
yeah
And
have a
it-
mid
it's-
have a mid of
no,
him drinking the Slurpee and it runs
Drinking
out.
it.
Yeah, then he looks, and then you do a pull out, and then you have the.
We don't need
planet.
to pull out. So it's tracking as he's walking. Fuck like what he's doing in space. You don't even see his legs. And then the Earth just like passes him by, and he's like, huh? And then like
right.
so it's tracking this way. Earth passes by, and then he
Yeah.
goes, what the fuck?
So it's just like
And
coming
then-
out.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
he goes back to Earth. So Earth
Yeah.
ends up here. Is that what
Yeah.
that makes sense?
Like,
Yeah.
Or
really-
maybe that, but I think also it could be funny if he's like really just nonchalant, blasé, like
Yeah.
not even looking at
Yeah,
the drink.
yeah.
He's
It's,
just like,
it's a day in the life. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
he's like really just not even thinking about it, and then it's kind of empty, and he looks down. He gets rid of it, or like just puts it down here, and then he walks past the Earth, and he's like, oh, and we have a
How-
little like,
I think maybe you need the he sees the Earth, and then he does the like look at the Earth, look at the straw, process, chuck away the thing, keep the straw, go for it. Sort of, I don't know. I think you need some.
yeah, it could be a nice beat
Some
of him
level
pulling
of,
the
like-
straw out.
I was just thinking someone's taking his shit and then it like backsplashes on him because there's
mean-
no water to catch it. But that's like so dumb.
I know this is a bit of a meme, right? But there is a Nemo rig. So like it would be quite funny if Nemo gets like fucking sucked up and then like his dad's chasing him again or something. It's a bit of
Oh,
a meme.
mate, if there's a bit where the fucking Marlin's like, not again.
Yeah.
Like, for fuck's sake.
His voice him going, not again. And that's the ending, and he's just fucking like done with it. He's
Yeah,
just, like,
just for fuck's sake.
There is a Nemo rig.
Just shake his
I'll
head.
put it in the chat.
fuming, and that's just the ending. Is him just looking at camera like, not again.
It reminds me of, you know, in Flushed Away when he just randomly picks up the goldfish and he's like, "Have you seen my dad?"
I don't even remember it, but it sounds funny. The shot of like you could have a shot of them swimming in the ocean, and then a giant shadow or something, and the suction comes up here, and then they get sucked in, and he manages to hold on or something. I don't know.
Yeah, his son just disappears. But then remember, the ocean has to disappear too.
Maybe he gets sucked up, and then he has a coughing fit or some shit.
Oh wait, what if
Jesus.
I think somehow Marlin doesn't get sucked up, and he's just left.
Yeah, that was what I was going for with this.
Yeah.
He holds onto a rock or something.
Yeah, so Nemo just disappears. Then the Marlin's just left in an empty ocean on the floor, and then he just have him like kind of suffocating, but also have the like fuck's sake. Oh, that's a double beat. I don't know if that will work.
Yeah, you don't want a double gag.
How
Short
can
and
we get
sweet.
Marlin into something away from? Well, we establish it's him and Nemo. Maybe they're tracking as well, going along da-di-da.
Yeah.
And then maybe Nemo stops to look at something. Stops. We keep tracking. The camera goes past him, and Marlin ends up somewhere where he's safe from it, but the water drains from the room, and then he's like
yeah. Or maybe
pissed or something. I don't know.
when the straw slams down, it kind of like surrounds Nemo, but
Describe
not
Nemo.
Marlin. So like, imagine.
Yeah. I'm trying to get rid of my shit, so you got space.
So like, let's say, like they do, like what
Okay.
you did there. So they kind of get separated, and then like as the straw like comes down, like it cuts, and then like imagine Nemo's kind of
think-
like Nemo's swimming here, and then like this thing just goes boom around him.
Yeah, I think then you cut to like the super wide of like the straw.
Yeah,
And Marlin's like
Marlin's
this,
here, like, "Ah."
he's like tiny. He's like really small, like
Yeah.
this.
Slightly bigger fish and little fish. Obviously, Nemo and Marlin.
Yeah.
They're really
Yeah.
they're just happy. They're chilling. They're not doing anything. They're just doing that. And then
Just bobbing up
fucking
and down.
straight
straw.
through the middle of the shot. The straw does that.
And it's like the whole thing is the
Yeah, it's
straw.
just-
And Marlin gets blown back or something.
No, I think he just stays still. It's just like,
Oh,
and then Marlin's like,
okay.
what? And then we cut back up, and he sucks the whole ocean up. And then
Yeah.
there's a shot back here where Marlin's just left, like
On the floor.
floor,
flopping.
like, what the fuck?
If he's not even flopping, he's just like done. Like he's just lying there on the floor,
He's
like
deadpan.
fucking done with life. Like can't get the emotion.
Like this.
Not again. I want not again. It's so funny. We need someone to voice just saying not again. What's Marlin's voice actor? I can't even do
I
an
don't
impression.
know.
Not again. Oh, my voice is so breathy.
I want him to be so like done though. I don't want it. I think like I think you just do it.
Ross.
I'm gonna start creating a bit of layout right now in Maya.
Okay, I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
All right, you do that.
Gobsmacked.
I can share my screen. We can just talk about.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be funny if it's just like a guy with a fucking
It'd
one
just be
antenna on his head?
Apollo or something.
and he's
with
Green
like an
Lambert.
antenna.
Yeah.
Yeah, with just the green, just changes like skin texture to green or
I'm
whatever.
s- like, have you seen my son?
Have you watched the Nemo
My
recap?
son. We could just do my son.
Well, I'm happy to just do the fish if you guys want to do the big shots, or if you want me to do a big shot, I don't mind. I could just do layout and kind of do everything else.
It'd be nice to do some alien stuff if you're putting the offer up.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, I'd quite like to do something with it.
How
Dunno
about then? I mean, you sound like you want to do this big sucker, Chester.
Can do. Yeah,
With-
yeah, I can do the big suck.
Sound key. Yeah, cool. Okay. So then I'll just do
Alien.
all the sea shots,
Sure.
and I'll sort out like the look dev, I guess.
So what? So wait, that's all the sea shots, or
Yeah.
do you want to do? Do you want me
it's
to do
just-
one of them, and Aaron just does the big main first shot because that's the biggest section?
I could do all the sea shots because the first one's just literally two fish idly floating, and then a big
Yeah.
straw goes, and then the last one is just fish flopping, and then you cut into a really depressed fish face.
Hello everyone, and thank you for watching it up to this point. This is future Aaron talking over the top of the video, kind of going to be going through and explaining my process as we animate. I was just going to use this time to kind of explain how I've set the edit up, and here we can just see a quick time lapse of me setting up a picker for the Apollo rig. Hopefully this should make the process faster when I came to animating it. using like different layouts that I've witnessed over the years in different productions. This is kind of the methods that I found works best for me in terms of pickers. Everyone has their own preferences when it comes to these things, but I find I want to have as much control as possible whilst I'm animating, so I always have every single control in my picker and try and lay it out as clear as possible, so that when I get to animating I don't have to be looking through the rig in world space to try and find the controls I want. Also, this helps me to kind of create groups and like different sets of controls so that I can key those and focus on one area at a time when it comes to refining animation. This video you'll see me start to talk over the animation process, from going all the way through blocking to spline, and then I'll try and explain my methods as we're going through as much as possible. Again, this is sped up as it's a 5-hour video for the recording of the animation part, so I'll do my best to kind of decipher each part as we're going through. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying it so far, and I'll see you in the animation part. There is quite a lot of time before we see the Earth.
You can cut it down if you want.
I'm thinking, yeah, I'm just thinking beats wise, because I mean it might be nice to still use the time, like the shot length that we've got, but maybe use it to like break up the beats when he reacts and stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's like 4 seconds before we see anything.
I'm just trying to figure out scale. We kind of want uniform scale, don't we, between me and Aaron for this planet to man thing.
So he's slurping away on his drink, and then he's walking past the Earth, and then does he see the Earth as he's drinking, and then like slows down, like stops?
I think it could be nice if he like doesn't even notice it, and then as he stops, he's like, "Huh?" And then
But why would you stop? Why would you stop unless you saw it? Maybe he stops to look at his drinks, like he's like kind of thing, and he's looking at his drink, and then he sees the planet in the corner of his eye.
Maybe he's unsatisfied with the drink, and then he's satisfied by the Earth, so you get that contrast.
He's
okay.
He's like, it's a bit crap.
Okay.
Well, either that, or he's just sad that it's empty.
I just had an idea. Would it be quite cool if he walks like he's on the ground, but then he's kind of floating up and down as he does that? Do you know what I mean?
If it works.
Or did you imagine him just floating?
I imagine him just walking.
Yeah,
like,
imagine it like he's on the floor somehow.
What? So like there isn't even... Yeah, alright.
Like as if there's a floor at the bottom of space somehow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the only weird thing, that he's just walking through the solar system. It would kind of make it look like he's a guy in a model solar system.
That's why I thought it might be a little bit more like, I don't know, tastefully creative if he does walk like he's on the ground, but then he's kind of got a little drifting motion to him as he does it.
He could just be floating like a ghost, like as if he's in space. And then you could do like 0G stuff.
How big is he going to be compared to Earth? That's something we need to figure out. Can I share my screen and get your thoughts?
Yeah.
It's tricky because it'd be nice to get some of that foreshortening vibe by putting...
Yeah.
What focal length are you on?
I
This
didn't
is just
change
default.
it.
I need
You
to...
can
Oh,
right, yeah. Make it wide.
You could really push it so his hand is massive when he's grabbing the straw.
Yeah. So like put it on like a 25 or something, and then bring the camera in, yeah.
Boys.
As long as the Earth is still readable, remember.
Yeah, I think it will be when you see like the continents and stuff. I don't want to see those other planets on this shot though.
I guess we can push it further in Chester's shot, and Aaron's can be flatter.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, that might help.
Oh, I'm gonna figure out. I don't know. We need a straw, don't we? Really, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Is there anything on Turbo Squid? Have you looked?
There are. They cost a bit of money,
How much?
like $5 to $10.
Send some links. Let's have a look. I mean, if it's a tenner, it's
We can all...
5 or tenner.
I mean, I can chip in because I could use anyway.
I'm just downloading this Earth. How do we? It's just annoying because a straw would be so easy to rig, but we're also shit at rigging.
We're all trash. Ooh, someone's finalised their idea. Hey, Adam. Sorry, I'll mute myself.
How does I know this?
I could have it so he finishes on the spot and keeps drinking it. So he's like Chester played around with this really nice idea of him like filling with the straw to try and get all the corners that he can. So that's where I can hopefully break it up in this section maybe. Or maybe he tries to like scrape with the straw on the inside, so he's like trying to find any more, and then he's like, ooh. So it might be nice. Like there's some time in here, which maybe we could shave off. Because there's a lot of time in there. And it'd be nice to get more plainness, like make it a bit more playful in the middle. So let's just quickly change the timing before we record anything. Okay, go. Oh. Ah. Let's add in the play blast so I can actually get the timing exactly how we like. Because it's a little fast in the section that I'd like to have a beat for. Ah.
Nice.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah, it works. I'm worried that there's not a establishment, but maybe they could just be planets behind him, like on the left. When he gets to the left, they could just.
Oh,
you
yeah.
You could move Saturn to the left.
Okay.
Right, yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
so it's like
just
over
there.
here somewhere.
Yeah. So that
Does
he's
the
not walking
camera
through.
start
It's just like.
linear?
Hold on, I can put it. I can do it now.
Cool.
And but yeah, I could do a bit of like planet placement afterwards. This doesn't matter. But that's cool, yeah. I like it.
Cool.
Yeah.
As long as we establish that he's a giant alien walking through the solar system, we're good.
Yeah, that's all we really need to establish, I guess.
It's the cylinder. I haven't really skinned it enough, but
So let me watch you.
Nice.
it's
Ah, yeah. Yeah.
It's a bit shit because I've got no
Weights on it.
weights on here. Well, there's no points here.
I was gonna say you might need some more edges, edge
horizontal
loops.
edges.
Yeah.
Can you just add that? I don't know.
Maybe I can
I
undo
guess-
the skinning.
Yeah, I think you probably. Yeah.
Oh, I'm stuck in Blender hotkeys. I don't know what to do.
What are you looking for?
I want to be able to select this. W. There we go. Okay. Okay. Oh no, the scanner doesn't work.
Oh. I
How
think
do you
you
get
no
scale
wait because you've got parent constraint that only does translation rotations. You also need to do a second one under constraint and then scale. There's like a scale one.
Oh. Oh shit! I need to zero these out.
Yeah. You need to freeze them.
How do you do that?
So right click on the channel box.
These.
Yeah. And then freeze and then all. The problem is,
No.
mate, there's an extra step that you've missed.
What's that?
Because you're constraining directly onto the NURBS, it means they're non-animatable. So you have to group each of the NURBS and then add the constraints to the groups, not the NURBS.
Fuck.
I mean, it's going to be a little bit... Oh, you got some nice squash and stretch in the eyes.
Can you share?
Oh, yeah, I'll share.
As long as I can push the rig past what it's supposed to be doing, I can just cheat it all.
Yeah, I think you have the ability to. So this is the ice.
He looks quite good purple. Oh, I didn't change the nail color though.
Okay.
How was that?
She goes.
Yeah, he seems fine.
That's quite good, isn't it?
He's great.
I was just
Yeah.
gonna say that, like,
Can you show me? Sorry,
I'm streaming it.
no, he has
What's
quite
the
a bit.
big eyebrow one? Not that one. The middle one. Yeah.
Oh,
Direction.
that's the
No,
ice
no,
squash.
sorry. Oh.
Oh, yes. Nice.
Has he got like a? Has he got a whole body squash? Can I scale the body?
Oh, yes.
It fucks his eye up. But yeah, I can remodel them to look like. Yeah,
What?
that'd be easy.
Oh, it's just the eye direction changing. I guess you can just put that in white space and get on with it.
Never animated a fish before. Fucking hell.
Never animated a fish. Gotta have him flopping about. My son. Whatever he's gonna say.
I wonder what his mouth is like. The only thing is like they're not mirrored axis, which is a bit annoying. But it's
Oh,
not
even Guff does that. It's alright.
at night, because it's nearly midnight here, near enough. So yeah, I'm going to film some reference in the morning at probably like 8:30, and then I'll tune in at 9:30 to start blocking out thumbnailing and all that stuff. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this process so far. Thanks for staying in and being patient with us just ranting on about planning. But yeah, it's been good fun so far, and hopefully it'll be a little bit more exciting tomorrow. We've come up with an alien who's walking through space, and he's a lot bigger than the planets, and he's slurping on on a cup, and he's got like a potion in it. He's just drinking away, and then it runs out, and he gets annoyed, or he's like disappointed that he's run out of Slurpee, and then he sees a planet next to him that's filled with water, and so he's like, ooh, and he takes out his straw and goes to start drinking from the planet, and then we cut. And it cuts to a shot of Nemo and Marlin from Finding Nemo, and they're just walking by their reef, and then randomly a straw just goes poof in the middle of the ocean, and cuts sort of like this giant straw, and it separates Marlin and Nemo, and then it cuts back to the alien, and he's drinking through the straw, and he's sucking up all the water from the planet, and then it cuts back to Marlin again, and he's just by his coral reef, there's no water, and he's like flapping about, and then it punches in on Marlin, and he's just like, my son. And so that's what we come up with. Yeah, so we've also got we found a Nemo rig, which Jim's going to be animating the Nemo stuff and the Marlin stuff.
I can show that now if you want to.
Yeah, show. Jim's done some amazing stuff last night, and he's using a combination of Blender and Maya for his scenes.
Yeah, so I'll animate these two fish in Maya. But right now there's no textures here because I did the look dev in Blender.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah.
So it'll look like this, hopefully.
Yeah,
But,
it's gonna look sick.
I still need to find out how to get the textures of the fish onto them. How do you normally do that in Maya?
In Maya, so if you select the geometry and then go to, you have to. Yeah. I don't know.
Also,
if it's
I can't scale these fish, by the way, so I've had to do this. So this.
Oh wow. Well, man, you can't scale them. That's so annoying.
Well, I can, but look what happens.
What the hell? Oh man, that's fine. I mean, you've cheated it pretty well, to be fair.
It should be okay.
So there was a couple of takes that I liked.
Oh my god, the straw is fucking hilarious.
Just dumph.
If I have time, I might do some like bubbles in Blender to make it look like it's just gone through the surface. But the main issue is in Chester's shot getting that ocean to disappear. In worst case, we just do a scaling blue circle, but
Yeah,
it would be nice if it went into the straw.
it would be nice. Yeah. Is do you prefer this face, where he's a bit more like, for God's sake?
I think the first one worked for me better,
Okay.
but then the
I think I preferred the hand stuff inside when he's like getting agitated in this bit. That bit, like
yeah.
from this bit, I prefer those beats.
Yeah.
And then
I mean, switching the hand of the which one's holding the cup might be a bit of a pain.
that'll be alright.
So you switch twice.
Yeah, I could do that. It's fast.
Okay. And then yeah, as long as we have the straw out.
He actually he swaps it a lot, but it's fine. He swaps it like 4 times.
Well, I mean, you can always just remove the swaps and do the same pose graphically. And it should still work.
Yeah, I could. I think the reason I did these angles is because I think that reads clearer him leaning away from camera, so that the straw is angled towards the camera, so you read that bit.
Yeah, and the hand is behind, so that you
Yeah.
can read the cup.
Exactly.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, this works fine
Cool.
because then you get the slumpy hand.
Yeah. I don't
So if
mind.
you're happy doing all those
switching.
constraint swapping, go for it.
Yeah, I do it all the time. Yep.
And then maybe Marlon could be like, "What the fuck?" Like he looks up.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, I like it, man. My only thing I would say is it'd be cool if when he's moving, like, to have a bit of like texture in there so it's not so clean. Like,
Yeah, this is just the layout. But you mean
Okay.
like when Marlin's like swimming towards him, it's like
no,
he's
as in Nemo's path, maybe wouldn't go as up and down as much, and maybe have a bit more like stagger in it, because that's kind of how he moves. You know what I mean?
like darting, like how a
Like-
fish would zip around.
I'll see if I can find some reference. So basically, he kind of, imagine he's got a walking stick, and he can't move on one leg, like if he was a
yeah.
human, you know, and they kind of like, they have some weight to them. Like, I don't know if you can. Oh, you can't see my camera.
And back in. All right, come.
Sure.
Here we go.
All right, come on,
Perfect.
boy.
Hey everyone, Future Aaron back again. So here we're going to start showing my blocking process of the shot that I animated for the challenge. One thing to note as I was thinking about my posing is we were trying to make it as graphic and as simple as possible, and still kind of trying to push the poses where we can. In my mind, I was aiming something along the lines of Hotel Transylvania in terms of keeping the shapes very simple and the silhouettes very graphic, making sure that everything reads as clearly as possible, and then trying to keep for time restriction processes, I was trying to make the animation quite snappy so that hopefully there's less error when it came to animating. One thing that I also had to keep in mind for this shot in particular was there's a lot of constraints and swapping of props from one hand to another. So I was trying to set up the rig in a way that would allow me to be as flexible as possible with this. So there was a couple of limitations in the rig from the prop perspective. Be it that I didn't have enough controls so that I could switch from one to the other. Especially with the straw, didn't have a secondary control to constrain from, so a lot of it I ended up having to animate by eye, which was a bit time consuming, so I didn't have as much time to refine the shot, but I was still quite happy with the results. So here you can see I'm just starting to block out the contact positions. This is generally when I'm doing walks, at least if you don't see the legs in the shot, I'll still try and block out the contact and the passing positions. That way it still feels like there's weight out of shot. You also saw that I used the copy-paste script, which I have on my shelf, to paste the world space position of the cup so that I could paste that onto the guy's hand, and then with just a quick couple of rotations I could correct it so it felt like it was sitting inside his palm. So here I was just going back into Animbot to create a new default position on the rig because Chester had made adjustments to the rig and modified his shape and proportion slightly. And so I wanted to make sure with Animbot that whenever I reset the rig back to 0, it actually preserved the deformations and the modifications that Chester made. So now I'm just creating a purse shape, which is kind of an exaggerated silhouette. So for this shot, and for the time restrictions, I wasn't too worried about what things looked like in world space too much. So I was looking mostly in camera and just trying to make the shapes as clear as possible. And trying to exaggerate where I could, basically. So you can see here I was like pushing out the brows to try and make a bit more of a right-angled shape. So it didn't just feel like the nose, the bridge of the nose, just had like one clean line going straight through the head, just to break it up a little bit. And you can see I rotated the ears back so that you see a bit clearer silhouette of the ears. And I think I also eventually changed the eye line so it's actually, he's looking slightly to his left in world space, but it's just so that we can read the iris. There you go. Just there, just so you can read the eye direction in camera. I'm not sure. I think in my key poses, I will try and keep everything in world space as accurate as possible usually. So in this case, I'd make sure that the straw was touching the lips. But then when it gets into the in-betweens, hopefully I don't have to do as much maintenance because everything should be preserved from the key poses. So I think here I was just discussing with the guys how I'm going to set up the rig. I'm probably answering some questions in the chat. So when I'm doing my key poses, I'm usually looking at the main positions going from one pose to the next over long periods of time. And since the next pose, it was going to be across a large space in world space, I wanted to make sure that I found the next key pose that was on the other end of that distance. That way, when I'm adding in-betweens and key poses in between those two, I can use Tween Machine, and that should help keep everything flowing a little nicer. And I don't have to worry about over-countering or over-complicating the shot. So here, this is where I start to reposition the body for the second pose. One thing that I'm always looking for when I'm changing key poses is contrast. There's so many different factors to think about when you have these sorts of shots, or any shot for that matter. But these were the things that were just running through my mind. If I could bring out enough contrast in each key pose, then that should hopefully bring a bit more entertainment value. So the two main things I was looking for was also the changing key poses in change of like line of action and contrast, keeping that, trying to maintain that style in animation like I mentioned earlier, but also thinking about rhythm and timing. So that's why I pre-recorded my voice earlier. So that should hopefully give me a template to animate from in turn, and I don't have to worry about timing as much because I've already kind of pre-planned it using the voice. And then I go back in later and I re-record the voice so that it syncs up and feels a bit more in attitude and more in tone with the final result. So you can see here I'm always trying to find ways to readjust the hand positions and push the pose a little bit more so it's a little bit more appealing and readable. Generally what I tend to do with my reference is there's two kind of stages that I look for in the reference. First is key poses. Usually it depends on the kind of style, but because I had to animate quick, I didn't really have too much time to thumbnail, so I was relying more on my reference here because we were under time restraints. but I could still find ways of using those key poses in the reference and pushing them to make it read a bit more to camera. So you can see how I've still taken elements of the reference, but I'm still tweaking it and exaggerating it in places so that hopefully it has a bit more readability and clarity in the shot. Here I was just trying to figure out the hand positions for the fingers. I was looking at my hand, actually holding a pencil, trying to figure out how I actually would hold it. Because sometimes there's not always enough information in the reference video, so it's always good to have. That's why we use mirrors. If we need to push an expression with our face, we can kind of see how the face is pulling around if we can't get that information from the video that we shot. So one thing that's really important also to keep in mind is eyeline. So I was making sure that the eyeline made it look like he was looking down at the straw and into the cup. Because if that looks off, then you're instantly going to disconnect. There were a couple of things I had to work around with the face and the rig, mostly around his underside of his chin. I had to end up cheating that a lot so that it made a cleaner, sharper shape. And then I was using a lot of the squash and stretch in the upper and lower face to kind of bring out the appeal and push the shapes a little bit more. I've never used this rig before this shot, so I was kind of figuring things out as I went along. But I was more just trying to use what controls I could find to push the shapes to bring out a bit more appeal and character. You can see there that I'm having to now key on and off the blend parents on the constraints for the cup, which I have to do a lot in this shot. It's quite a tedious process and probably which took up the most amount of time. And as you heard earlier, that we were trying to figure out a simpler way so that I wouldn't have to keep shifting the prop from one hand to the other. But with just the way that it was staged, it made, if I started taking out those constraints, then the poses just didn't read as well. So I ended up just biting the bullet and animating the prop, going back and forth between each hand. So you can see how I've tried to really push the simple and complex lines on either side of the body. So on the screen right side, we've just got this clean line going down the arm, and then I've got all this complex information on the left side. Still trying to bring out a little bit of asymmetry in the pose as well. So at this point, I wasn't worrying too much about anatomy. I do try to keep it in mind as much as possible, but I think for this shot, I was favouring shape more than anatomy, as long as I wasn't going to limit myself or kick myself in the foot when it ends up coming into in-betweens. That's why I generally, in my key poses, try to keep it as anatomically proportioned and move in a realistic way, like actually moving the controls in a realistic way. That way when I go into in-betweens, I'm not going to get any unexpected results. One thing that I did actually really like about this shot, just in terms of an animation process, was I didn't really give myself any style choices or limitations when it came to facial expressions. It was whatever sold to the attitude the most, and for that reason it was really fun to animate. So no matter what the attitude was, whether he was thirsty or angry, I wasn't worried too much about keeping a character on model, which is something that's super important when you're working in a production, because everyone has to recognize the character. But because this is a character who hasn't been established before and we could define the style, this is where it's really enjoyable as an animator to just be able to push shapes and sell as much expression as possible in one single pose. So now we're getting into the in-between part of the process. For this part of the process, I use a tool called Tween Machine, which is very well known in the industry, and essentially what it helps with is defining spacing and timing when it comes to the in-betweens in your poses. It's bound to hotkey to my Tween Machine so that I have different values on my keyboard, and that really helps speed up the process, which I'm sure some of you are already aware of. And what this allows me to do is I can select an entire rig. I can select the entire rig, and then I can set a value in Tween Machine, and it allows me to define whether I want to favor in or out of a pose, if I want to anticipate or if I want to overshoot. And then inside of that I can then readjust specific poses so that using Tween Machine and different values, and that allows me to either lead or overlap the action. I was in this section. I was actually playing a lot with the breathing controls to make sure that he really inhales as he sucks up into the straw. So I was finding any way possible to really exaggerate each action. You can see here I was battling with the straw at this point because it had too many constraints on it. And one thing that was really fun to animate in this part as well was the tongue. So I wanted to have this curling of the tongue as he basically tucks the straw into his mouth, and then after he's finished sucking, then he kind of does like a slapping of his lips together as though he's just trying to savor the last part of the drink. This part of the shot was actually particularly difficult because there was a lot of texture. And the way I usually animate texture is by looking at the overall action and making sure that the overall fundamentals are working. So just through the spine, the head and the chest. And then if I want to add texture on top, then I add extra in-betweens and then start readjusting the pose afterwards to add that texture. But by doing it this way, it keeps the overall action and the overall pose very clean, and you're not having to clean up too much later, and that really helps when it comes to adding secondary action. So here I was figuring out how I wanted to have the head swing round, and I wanted to keep it relatively to camera. Looking at the final results, there were actually some mistakes that I made where I held a dragging action for too long, and I'm still kicking myself about it now. When I look back on it, I can't unsee it. But I think just under the time limitations we had, I was quite tired and it really helped just being able to have a little bit more of a carefree attitude. As long as the main tone and each expression was sold, I was quite happy with the result. So here I was going from an angry expression, I wanted to have a little reaction where he's really delighted to see that there's more liquid he can drink. So I was really trying to push the contrast, as I mentioned earlier, where he's gone from really angry into this really like happy, like almost he kind of goes out of character for this one moment just to sell a joke, and it definitely got a laugh, which I was really happy with. So here I was just adding a little anticipation, a little squash, and then he overshoots up into a big stretch and then settles back in. One thing that was really important when I was looking at the timing for this is I ended up having to keep it quite snappy into each pose because there was such a short amount of time between each key pose that he had to transition. So initially I had him settling for longer, but then you didn't really read a final pose by doing this, so I ended up having to speed up and make my timing a lot snappier. So here I just created a big anticipation where his leg comes up and still trying to find the asymmetry, and now I'm leading down with the leg and then having the chest, having the roots come down, but then the rest of the body overlap through the action, and then it catches up later. Again, this is kind of part of the methodology that we would use in TV animation. If we need to get a character from one side of the screen to another very quickly, and we didn't want to have to figure out the mechanics too much, by using this technique it actually helps speed up the process a lot, as long as it's in style and true to the character. And thankfully we had liberties with this project because we didn't really have any establishment beforehand, so we pretty much had full creative freedom. So that really helped when it came to time restrictions. So here I've added all the in-betweens, and then from that point what I usually do is I hit spline and then bake it onto 2s, and then I go through and I start cleaning up everything and adding in the little details and the overlaps where I feel like it's necessary. This is one of the parts of the shots that I actually really struggled with. So I was trying to get this swooping action where he kind of dives into the final position at the end, And so I had this big inhaling pose, which I thought was quite fun, but I didn't end up fully achieving the results I was looking for in terms of the spine really tucking under and then scooping into the final position. If I'd had a bit more time, I would have planned that out a little more. A lot of these actions were quite spontaneous, and I was kind of thinking of things up on the spot as I animated, and for that reason it actually made it a bit harder to tackle, and it made it quite difficult to execute each action, having it so spontaneous. So here we were just checking on the guys, seeing what they're animating. Chester and Jim were doing some great stuff here. You can see how much Chester cheated the shot in his. So here we're just getting a little bit of a review from the guys, see if there's anything they noticed. The only real note they had was that he was pushing too far screen left, and some of his silhouettes was breaking the slight line of the frame just on his hands. So they were just saying to push it back slightly left. So that was why I was just addressing it here. So here I'm making some adjustments with the straw, which was probably the most tedious part of the process because it wasn't rigged up correctly like I mentioned earlier. So there was a lot of back and forth, just trying to figure out the angles and just trying to cheat it to make it look like it was in his hand, even though half the time I'm sure it wasn't. So this is where I'm starting to add the ups and downs on the weight of the walk, just so you feel like there's a bit of impact and a bit of body mechanics in there. Even though I wasn't going fully into it and making it all connected and feel like a more authentic walk, just with the time restrictions that we had, just having the ups and downs in the body and a bit of rotations in the chest really helped sell the idea of him walking naturally. So this part of the process I do end up using play blasting quite a lot just to get the most accurate feedback I can. I don't always like to rely on playback in Maya just because of performance issues sometimes with a rig. You never always get a one-to-one representation of what you're animating, so I always take the time to play blast just so I can actually see the final result. So at this point you can see the entire shot is on 2s. So this is where I'm starting to go through now and clean up all the constraints where things had snapped out of place. Because I'd have only had my in-betweens, there probably would have been, say, 20 frames in between where the constraint would have been blending from being connected to one hand and then blending into the other. So I had to make sure it always stayed attached to one hand completely. So this part of the process is part of my workflow, which I'm quite used to. Just making sure that all the parent constraints stay where they should be. So here is where I was end up having to eyeball the connection of the straw and the hand almost looking like they're connected together, but in fact they weren't at all. This part was quite tedious. So I was adding a little bit of secondary action on the straw just to make it feel like it wasn't completely static and it felt like it was rolling around inside the cup. Again, I had to readjust the straw a lot here to make it feel like it stayed inside his hand. Another struggle that I found was when he takes the straw out of the cup at the end. Because the straw was so long, I didn't want to have this large arc going over the top of the hand, so then it would realistically come out of the cup. So I ended up cheating the timing a bit more, so it was a bit snappier, so that over one frame the straw just pops outside of the cup. So here I was figuring out some of the mechanics. You can see in the top right of the screen that I had my graph editor up, and this is where I start to go through and use Animbot to create ease-ins and ease-outs on the curves to make it feel a little bit more connected. And I was also adding some overlap in the arms just to make it feel like there was a bit of follow through and overlap. So here I'm bringing the jaw around as he goes to inhale, so we're again overlapping the jaw a little bit more so it breaks up the timing. I was adding a bit of overlap in the rotation X on the head as well, just so you felt like the weight was traveling through his body. Another thing that was a little bit of a challenge, which I had to cheat, was that the IK hand wasn't set into chest space, which meant it was disconnected from the walk. So I had to go through and eyeball the hand to make it feel like it was connected to the chest, which was a mistake on my part, which I should have set up earlier, but I had to kind of cheat in the moment. So now I'm just going through and doing a pass on the straw, creating little arcs. Again, I was having some troubles with the straw here, where I'd lost some of the animation that I did earlier, and I wasn't entirely sure why this happened. So I was scaling the straw at this point just to cheat it so it stayed inside his mouth. And here I was tracking the arcs and trying to find a transfer position from where the hands could switch from the cup being in the right hand into the left hand. Because there was so much texture happening at once, it had to pass from one hand into the other, and then straight after that he had to then grab the straw and then start twiddling it around inside. A lot of the time in this part of the process I would end up deleting keys if I wanted something to be snappier, just to play with the timing a little bit more, or sometimes I would add keys and drag things out so that we had a change in rhythm. Now I'm just making sure that the straw is connected to the fingers, and that I'm anticipating the fingers letting go of the straw and then wrapping around the cup. And now I'm figuring out the anticipation so that the root leads the action and then the head follows through, and then at the bottom of the anticipation the root hangs for a little bit longer, and then the head overtakes and ends up leading the action. So we're switching the opposites in terms of leading in, following through. So initially we had the bottom leading and then the head following through, and then straight after we had the head leading the action and then the roots following through. Again, we're just checking up on Chester here, who's doing some great stuff. Jim was giving us a little sneak peek at his scene. I'm still to this day, I don't understand how Jim animated so fast. He literally just animated that shot of Nemo and Marlin swimming in about an hour, and then he just moved on. He spent most of his time doing the look dev and the blender work. Again, getting a little bit of feedback from the guys. They mentioned about the straw, how they wanted to make sure that it hung over the earth a little bit more. So now I'm just going through and breaking down, creating those arcs inside the body. Again, this is where I was figuring out the connection between the elbow and the hand. At this part of the process, I was mostly refining things and doing little passes. So here I was just doing a little pass on the antenna. The antenna I actually didn't end up doing too much maintenance on. I mostly just set key poses and then let it spline between, which looking back on it would have been nice to have a little bit more of a spring feeling to it. But I, again, limited for time and almost forgot to do the pass at this point. But I was quite happy with the animation by this part of the process, and I was just exporting an alembic for Jim so that he could put it into Blender and he could test the shaders and the lighting. So again, now we're starting to refine everything a little bit more. There were some constraint issues which kept on popping up, so I had to go through and fix those quite often. Yes, there was one note that they wanted the straw position to be held slightly higher at the ridge of the straw, and also so that the end of the tip of the straw would be pointing towards him, so that when it hooked up, the straw would be pointing in the right direction. And then I think I exported out another alembic of that and gave that to Jim. So now I was changing the timing here in the root so that it created a little bit more of an arc and starting to break up the body as much as I can. Usually I would put a lot longer into this part of the process, trying to make it as connected as possible. That's usually my feature film mindset these days, but I had to almost step back into my more traditional methods working in TV, where you had to just think about your overall arcs and less about the polish and just making sure that the overall attitude worked. I think I went for a break here.
Import. Okay, he looks good. I'll import. Alright, pray for the wobbly antennae. No, it's there still!
Motherfucker.
What? I guess I'll just figure it out in Blender. That's gonna be a pain though, my god.
I don't know why. I don't know why it's doing that.
Me either. I'll Google it in a second.
I mean, Nana rigged it, so maybe ask Chester.
Yeah, I'll pop in there and ask. Alright.
The cylinders work though.
Yeah. I'll apply all the materials and see what happens. Up. See through.
Hello.
Yo, okay, we're just about to message you. Or get in there. So everything's working except for the little bobbly thing on his head. When we cache that in through Alembic, it floats in midair and doesn't move with him, but it's animated.
Are you turning on world space in Alembic?
Oh, that's in Maya, right?
Yeah.
So
In the
you have to turn
Alembic
it on.
settings, you can turn on world
Okay.
space.
So Aaron, go back into.
Yeah.
So just select the antennae,
Yeah.
and then in the options box of Alembic,
Yeah.
tick world. What was it?
World space.
space.
Yeah, it's just called world space. Yeah.
Was
I think
that
because
unticked?
there's a parent constraint, it doesn't carry through, and then it's just at origin doing all the animation. But if you
Okay.
bake it in world space, it will bake every frame in world space.
Thank God.
World space, world space, world space.
How's this
Oh, yeah.
cell shading going? Oh, this looks cool.
It's good, man.
I like the stars. That's like super graphic and simple.
I need to make a new.
How's your shot going, Aaron? I know you got the big chunky one.
It's pretty. I'm just calling it done.
Oh, cool.
I'm just adding some bits now. It's not
Yeah.
perfect, but like, you know.
I'm in a similar boat at the moment. Yeah.
That's the case for these like quick run throughs. Really, I guess
You can
always
see it.
going to be a
Jim's-
rush.
Like the final anim is what Jim's got. So
Oh, cool. Can you give it a play? Does it play in real time at all?
Yeah.
when he's applied shaders and stuff.
Yeah. So I guess he doesn't have the eyes yet.
No.
Yeah, I can put
Oh,
that in easy.
That's cool though.
I'm very glad that they aren't textures. It's its own
Geo.
geo, which
Yeah.
is lovely. Because for Marlin, I had to make my own shitty eye texture.
Do you want to see where I'm at?
Yeah, let's do it.
I can share my screen. This one. I'll just get the play blast up. Here it is. Let me know when you're in here.
1 second. Eyes.
I am.
You in here, Jim?
Yep.
Cool.
Oh, that's brilliant. All done.
It's so good, mate.
Cheers.
I love the jaw wobbling as well. At the start.
Panting at the end.
Yeah.
Oh. Excellent.
Yeah, I just added. He's got some really easy breathe control, so I just added a little like pant at the end to keep it alive, like
Yeah, that's great.
as he
man.
stays there.
All right, excellent. So
Cheers.
then, are you got much more to do?
Nah, not really.
Cool,
This was a
then-
play blast to look and see if I had anything really.
Then do you want to do me an Alembic of everything?
Yeah, I'd like to do some sound and stuff. Maybe we can put all the play blasts together in Premiere or whatever, and then do sound stuff and split up the sound between me and Aaron if we're both done.
You can each do like sound for each of your shots, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
While
guess.
I'm doing the.
Do we want the man to be the same voice though? Maybe.
Yeah, I guess.
So yeah, maybe not. But I mean, I can do the slurping.
I mean, I guess we could both do our own takes of the guy and see which one works.
Yeah. Yeah, Chester, when you do the Alembic, make sure it's just the camera and only geometry. Just,
Yeah. Was that what happened then? You just select the whole rig and it did something.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
all
they
good
always
now.
have some weird stuff set up, don't they?
They're really fluorescent.
Oh, it's inside the cup. Hang on, I have to do these ones. Actually, I can increase the value past 1 to make it even brighter.
Ooh, very shiny. Oh yeah, that's better. Nice. The only thing is you need to still see the balls inside it, so maybe that's the color of the balls, but then like
Ah, yeah. Okay, I'll make this a bit see through.
yeah, more opaque or something.
Okay, and then I need to add a node like this onto this. And then in the transparency node, calm down. What? Hello? Why isn't it not going transparent? Oh, I know why. I know why. Because this is not blending. There we go.
Hey, nice.
Right where the balls. Ah, it's like a boba. What's that? What's that?
Yeah, the oh fuck. I know what you mean.
Bubble tea.
Bubble tea. Yeah. It's such a simple name. I was trying to think of something more complicated. Yeah,
Right, if I
bubble tea
just
is
join
great.
the, I should still move, right?
I was thinking of doing like more like lumpy clumps of geometry, but I was like, ah, fuck it, I don't have time for that.
Where's my slurp one? Just made it. Slurp. Let me get rid of the alpha blend on this one.
Nice.
Lovely.
Yeah, it works.
Brilliant.
Nice.
What's that? What's that flying around there?
What's that?
Hang on. Oh wait. It's on the left now. What's that?
Oh, that's the geometry. That's the cylinder that disappears. It's out. It's out.
Ah, okay. Fine, fine. I was like, what is
Cheated
this?
over a frame. Out of scene.
That's how we like it. Right, I'm trying to give it his eyes a specular real quick. How long we got? We still got 2 hours. Should be okay.
Cool.
And then what I'll do is, for Chester's shot, once I've saved and rendered this one, I just delete everything in this one and then bring in his and apply the same textures.
Nice.
And it should just work.
I'm gonna go into another chat and do some voiceover.
Okay.
It says everyone is doing their render in Blender these days. It's crazy. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's fast.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, in a bit, dude.
See, mate.
Sick. Right, let's do this. If anyone comes up with any cool ideas for sound effects, let me know. I'm just going to be doing it with my voice. So, like, we'll just play blast it and then... Yeah, this is going to be pretty janky. I'm just going to hit record and then we'll go through and we can edit it later. Okay. So, we got the sound of the cup. Okay. And then we got... What else have we got? We got... This is so stupid. Home. Who? Who? Hmm? Huh? Ooh. I think we should just go from like this really deep guy to like a really high pitch. Ooh. Ooh. So let's have a listen.
Ooh.
I'm not sure if the pop is really fun, but I think the way I've animated it, it doesn't feel like a pop. So I don't know. What do you think? Should I take out the pop or take out the haha? Like, I could do this. Or I could do this. Or both. I'm not sure. It's fun, maybe, but maybe lower. What, the pop? So it's a boof. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try that. How do I stretch it out? I need to make it like that. Keep it even lower. Yeah, that's a really good idea. Shelley, you should go into like sound design.
Nice.
Let me know if there's something that's too much or too little, or should be removed, whatever.
Cool.
Ready?
Let's do it. Yep.
Oh wait.
Ooh.
I think that might be a bit too loud compared to the rest of it.
Okay, I can turn that down.
But the rest was cool. Yeah, keep playing it. Play it more.
Say again, sorry.
Ooh.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, awesome.
Just time down that one that you mentioned, and it's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
Chester mentioned we could maybe add some like space ambience.
Ambience. Yeah, just like background. Yeah, something. I don't know. But I can do that in the prem that I'm doing because I'm putting everything together as it comes through.
Yeah. Chester, your
Does space work?
watch my screen.
Yeah.
Watch my
streaming
chops, Bernie.
Watch my jobs
Classic.
screen.
Well, that's everything, guys. I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit of insight into our process for making this challenge. I would like to thank Anim Challenge for giving us the opportunity to take part in this wonderful challenge, and thank you to all of you who voted in. We ended up winning 2 awards for this, which is fantastic. We ended up winning Crowd's Choice and Trios because we was in the trio category. Please ask me any questions you have in the comments. I'd really appreciate to see what you think of this video, if there's anything you would like to see more of. And thank you for tuning in. It's been great to take part in this and to see all of your part of the community in taking part in the stream was brilliant. Thanks so much, guys, for watching up to this point. It's been a really fun ride, and I'll see you all soon.